Millions of students and staff personal information has been stolen by hackers as a result of the PowerSchool data breach. We're going to talk about that and many other ransomware attacks and other data breaches in this week's video. I'm Bryan with Xact IT and Cybersecurity. Welcome to the channel. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about what's going on with PowerSchools and hundreds of school districts across the United States as they deal with the ramifications and the fallout from this data breach that happened at PowerSchools. And what PowerSchools is essentially it's a portal for parents and students to log into to manage a lot of what they do with the particular school that they're enrolled in. According to their website, PowerSchools supports 60 million students at 18,000 organizations. And PowerSchools, as a result of this hack right now, they're not explaining the details of how their systems were breached. And quite frankly, as a cybersecurity expert and somebody who helps people get through these ransomware attacks, how this company is handling this is very, very concerning and very alarming. Number one, they're not giving any information about how they were breached, what was stolen, what exactly caused this breach. I mean, they are probably giving some reassurances in their discussions with the school districts they support that they fixed the problem. However, they can't even tell the school districts exactly which data sets or who's been impacted, because according to their information that they have from their forensics and their cybersecurity experts, is that only a small subset of their customers were actually impacted as a result of this breach. So this breach happened on December 28th, 2024, just after Christmas. And the PowerSchool did not start notifying school districts until just 2 days ago on January 8th. The company apparently began holding webinars with districts that had been impacted to explain what happened. But what I find really amazing is they're basically putting it on the school districts to go back and inform the parents and students that this is going on. As you can see with the screenshot or the news article that I'm sharing up on the screen, where this is a local news station in Massachusetts that's reporting on this data breach and saying that Massachusetts school districts warn parents after a PowerSchool data breach, meaning the school district had to go out and notify these individuals that this happened to them. And this is one of those things I talk about on the channel all the time, where these third-party applications, these SaaS applications that everyone has become so comfortable with and moved to, become a major problem for your business. And that's exactly what happened here. And not only that, just the inconvenience of PowerSchools not handling, taking care of all the people that were impacted, meaning I just believe PowerSchool should be the one assisting in the communication with this a lot more than I'm seeing. Just saying to the school districts, like, here's what you need to go out and tell your people. I would, if I were PowerSchools, I'd be looking at ways that I could look at how we could together, or PowerSchools alone could go to these individuals and tell them that this happened. Instead, they're kind of putting it on the superintendents and the school districts, which personally I think is mishandled, number one, but really unfair to these people that they have to go through this and deliver this information that's going to be very upsetting to a lot of people. And it seems like they're taking a very piecemeal approach to how they're handling this, meaning if you're a student at one of these schools that uses PowerSchool, you may or may not have been impacted based on what PowerSchools is saying, because not everybody was impacted the same way. So they're kind of going district by district to let them know specifically how they were specifically impacted, and then relaying that information to the schools and communities that they serve. And the other issue with this incident that really makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck is the fact that PowerSchools has come out and said that they paid the ransom and that they're taking the criminal's word for it. that this information has been destroyed, deleted, taken care of, so to speak. Look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing IT and cybersecurity for over 20 years. I've been involved in a lot of ransomware attacks. I've been involved in a lot of data breaches like this where data was just exfiltrated and stolen. I can tell you this, that cyber criminals don't do a real good job at cybersecurity. And this information, this type of thing is played out before, where other criminals, other hackers, other people, or just by dumb luck, these computers that store this information that was stolen end up in the hands of somebody else, or somebody's able to hack into that and steal it from there. Just because you paid one criminal group to not release this stuff or not do it doesn't mean they really deleted it, or doesn't mean that somebody else didn't get their hands on it too. So there's a major false sense of security here in the name of getting this company back up and running so they could get their platform back up and running. They went and paid the ransom, and now they're kind of advising as some kind of like, this is supposed to be reassuring to these school districts that, hey, we paid the ransom and these criminals said that they would take care of us. So they're basically going honor among thieves and, you know, hoping that this information doesn't eventually end up out there. But at the same time, they're still out there telling school districts to go tell your students and your teachers that you need to freeze your credit, that you need to make sure that somebody isn't taking advantage of your children's credit before they become 18, because that's what's at risk here. So unfortunately, if your school district did use PowerSchools, I would highly advise that you look into things like LifeLock and credit freezes for your child, because we are seeing this at a rapid pace. There's too many K through 12 schools that get hit with ransomware and the data is stolen and this stuff ends up on the dark web. And I truly do believe that not only will adults have to deal with identity theft at a higher rate than they're used to today in the very near future, I think a lot of children, when they get to the age of 18 or they go to apply for a mortgage for the first time, are going to learn that their information was stolen at some point and used in some way that caused harm to them. So as I said in my last video, and I'll say it again, in 2025, businesses, we have to do better. We have to do more to protect this information. People are getting sick and tired of their information being stolen because you fail to make the decision, the right decision, the correct decision to invest in cybersecurity the right way. There isn't one company on the planet that I've come in contact with that is protecting your information like they should. They're cutting corners. They're doing it in the name of profitability. They're not protecting your information like they should. So you need to make sure that you are judicious about who you give your information to and what you give them, but also making sure you're doing things like using credit freezes and credit locks in case things like this do happen. In another data breach news, Rhode Island still dealing with their ransomware attack. They will have an update today at 2 p.m. Governor Dan McKee has called a 2 p.m. press conference. Sounds like they're basically going to let everybody know kind of what information they know of to date has been compromised and what they can do to protect themselves from fraud. I just laid it out for you in the last video. It's no different. Credit locks, credit freezes, use tools like LifeLock that are out there, services that can help you with these types of things, these types of issues. If you're really concerned about your credit, there's a link in the description to get LifeLock. Highly recommend that you put that on. It's very easy to use and it provides good protection for most people for what they need. So if you live or work in Rhode Island, you're interested, 2 o'clock today, this video will probably be posted after that news conference, but essentially that's what I believe is going to be in the news conference. I don't believe there's going to be anything earth-shattering outside of that. Notices are going out to residents who were impacted, so this is just a follow-on to the notices that people are about to receive, just giving everybody a heads up so they don't panic and get concerned when they start getting notices sent to them. And just more evidence that businesses are not protecting your information, and it's just not the big businesses. It happens to the small guys too, the mom and pops, the mom and pop small town doctor's offices, as we have here in Utica, New York, where patients of Mohawk Valley Cardiology should be aware of a data security incident that may have involved the personal health information of up to 4,945 individuals. So only about 5,000 people, but probably most of the people that are patients of this cardiologist in Utica. So I bring this to your attention because, people, small businesses that we talk to all the time at our company at Xact Cybersecurity and IT, they just don't ever think that they're going to ever be a target. And as I try to tell them and tell everyone and warn everyone that it doesn't really matter what size you are, they will figure out a way to try to take money from you and extort you. Of course, they like to go after the big companies that make billions of dollars because it's a big payday if they can get it. But they'll also take, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars from these small-time companies as well. So everybody needs to do a better job, big and small, at protecting this information because, as you can see, the information that has been exposed includes first names, last names, addresses, health insurance, billing data, and health data, which is not really stuff that I personally would want of mine out on the dark web. And who knows what when they trade this stuff. And just so you know, like when they put this stuff out on the dark web, things like this can be sold to somebody who can then use it to go into a hospital to get treatment under your health insurance, under your name. It's called health insurance fraud. We see it all the time now because these companies don't do the right thing when it comes to protecting your information. And I don't know when businesses are going to learn because I always tell them, hey, it's way cheaper to do this stuff. I don't want to sound corny, but it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And this stuff is way easier to protect and make sure that it doesn't happen in the first place than if it does happen. You end up dealing with a lot of different things that you're completely unaware of. A lot of people think it's just the ransomware payment that we have to pay, and we'll get through this, right? Arkansas just joined a $20 million multi-state data breach settlement against a mortgage company. I can tell you right now, it would have cost this company a lot less than $20 million to protect this information. And that's not the only expense that this organization has had as a result of this data breach. And you don't have to take my word for it just because I purvey cybersecurity services. And I'm telling you that these companies don't do this stuff because we constantly talk to these companies and they basically tell us we're not going to do anything. Here we go, right? It's right here, black and white. It's not my words. This is the proof. Arkansas, they have decided to take action against Bayview for its alleged deficient cybersecurity practices and for failing to comply with their examination authority after a data breach that impacted 5.8 million customers. In other words, they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And we see this all the time. Feel like a broken record, but companies choose things like profit and investing in AI, which, why are we investing in AI before we invest in cybersecurity is beyond me. But 90% of the companies that are out there today, big and small, are dumping money and pouring money into AI. And they're like, why do we need to spend money on cybersecurity? We're never going to get hit. Yes, you will. And as I predicted in 2025, things like this will absolutely cause businesses to rethink these decisions. That is the goal of what they're doing. They're basically saying, like, this order sets a precedent for all licensees and ensures that Bayview companies will adopt new corporate policies and data security processes to deter data breaches like this one in the future. So we're going to make this so painful for you that hopefully everyone else looks around and says, hey, we don't want to have to go through that or pay that kind of money. We're going to start doing this stuff the right way. Because these regulators and then people that are following these lawsuits know that it doesn't cost anywhere near $20 million to fix this problem, but companies are just refusing to spend a couple $100,000 to fix what could have prevented this data breach of almost 6 million people. And here's a new one, folks. This week, big one. This is huge. Gravy. Many of you probably never heard of Gravy, but Gravy probably has more data on you than you would like them to have. Essentially, this organization, they're a data broker. So they basically take information from your devices, package it up, and resell it to other companies for whatever, marketing purposes, market research purposes. Essentially, what I've learned about this company is they have a lot of movement data about where you go in the world and places you've been, and all kinds of geo mapping and stuff like that that's been stored in your phone and offloaded to third-party companies like Google and Facebook. All that information gets aggregated by this company called Gravy. Now, these data brokers draw a lot of speculation and concern from people because a lot of times we find out that one of the customers or buyers, and one of the customers for Gravy is the U.S. government. And the concern around that is there's a concern that our government does this because the behavior is increasing. It's not going down. And it basically circumvents the need for the government to get a warrant by simply buying what they need to know. And that's what Gravy does. They specialize in location intelligence, meaning they collect sensitive phone location and behavior data from your phones. And according to 404 Media, cyber criminals breached Gravy Analytics, stole massive amounts of data, including customer lists, information on the broader industry, and location data harvested from smartphones, which shows people's precise movements. The cyber criminals have claimed to have stolen 17 terabytes of data, and they're threatening to publish it. Considering the sensitivity and location data for some groups or people, this breach could potentially just be as significant as the national public data leak, which basically, everybody's social security number got leaked when that national public data company was hit. So it's a big deal, and it's not out there. It's not in the news. You're probably only going to hear about it if you watch this video. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you sharing it out and hitting that like button so other people can get this information just like you did. And I appreciate your support as we move to 7,000 subscribers. And again, remember, I only cover what's come out in the news in the last week. What I can find and cite and source. There's a lot of information I have that isn't out there in the news too that you'd be blown away by, but I just can't share it on the channel without thoughts of being censored or potentially sued as a result. So I can only show you what's in the news, but this problem is way worse than what you see here or in the news. And this one's getting a bit concerning because I've seen multiple addiction treatment centers get hacked recently, and I really haven't looked into it enough to know why that is. However, this is the second one that's been in the news in the last 2 weeks. Covered one last week in the video last week, and I'm covering one this week with Baymark. They've confirmed a ransomware attack that caused a data breach. We also know of multiple addiction treatment centers that have had issues recently that have not made it in the news. So I don't know if there's a common system or something that cyber criminals have figured out in this industry, but if you own, operate, or work in a drug addiction and treatment center, I want to warn you that your organization might be a prime target and an easy target for cyber criminals because we track this stuff, we watch this stuff, and we really haven't seen these types of organizations attacked in the past. And the rate that they're being attacked in the last month is very alarming. The other concerning thing was with a lot of these addiction center stories that we see coming out, a lot of these attacks happened in September and October, and they're just kind of coming out and figuring it out now, which paints a picture of how ready these organizations were for something like this to not only prevent it, but to recover from it. Because a lot of times these companies don't even say anything until they've kind of gotten back up on their feet, or at least the recovery process is further along, or is kind of far along. It's like they're at the end of it, or they fully recovered, or they've recovered the best they're going to recover. Because I guess there's something to say if an organization announces a data breach or a ransomware attack, but they're operating, right? If you're down, it pisses people off more. But if you're continuing to operate and you're notifying people, I guess a lot of these organizations hope that it's less of a PR nightmare for them, so to speak. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of this behavior where organizations are figuring things out. It probably took them a while to figure it out, for sure, that even something was a problem. And then once they did figure it out, they kind of had to have forensic people come in. They had to have experts come in to kind of let them know what happened and how to stop the problem or block the hole or whatever happened to this organization to get attacked in the first place. You want to make sure that's resolved, and then you go out there and you tell people that this happened. So that's kind of what we're seeing here, but it's concerning because there's been two that have come out in the last 2 weeks, but I'm aware of at least a half a dozen others that have been out on the dark web, and things have been released on dark web leak sites that are in the same industry. So just a heads up, and if you're in that industry, you might want to have somebody do a risk assessment on your business and help you out and start helping you get secure so you don't end up like Baymark. And I messed up a little bit. I meant to cover this one on the heels of the PowerSchool attack, but we have a school district here in Mississippi. It is sorry about that, I lost the name, Starkville, Okibea Consolidated School District in Mississippi. Looks like Columbus and Starkville, Mississippi area. School district in their area is dealing with a ransomware attack. This is separate from the PowerSchool's incident. PowerSchool's incident was a data breach. I don't believe any ransomware was involved. They kind of just stole data from servers. This is a ransomware incident. Big problem for K through 12 schools still today, even though I just saw a report the other day saying schools saw less cyber attacks in 2024. And that's not true. I don't know what data that they're looking at, but in 2024, more school districts got hit than ever before. And whatever information some of these people look at to come up with these stories is absolutely insane, because I have a threat intelligence team that reports to our clients and me on this stuff all the time, on what's going on the dark web, what's going on in cyber criminal and hacker forums. And we have data that shows that schools and K through 12 school districts, colleges and universities are still being hit at a rapid pace. Some of this stuff just doesn't get out in the news. This is buried deep. I find it for you. This is on a local news website, and that's probably as far as it's going to go. It's not going to go regional. It's not going to go national. And I'd say 99% of cyber attacks either end up in a small town news story or don't get reported at all. And maybe on a lighter note here, we have Stiiizy. Stiiizy data breach exposes cannabis buyers' IDs and purchases. So everybody's a target. It doesn't matter who you are, what kind of business you run. If you have employees, if you have personal information, if you have data, you are going to be a target. And I can guarantee you that the people who purchase some of the stuff at these stores, not everybody wants their information exposed as a customer of cannabis for various reasons. Maybe you like to smoke and you have a prominent position in politics, or there's a lot of people that in New Jersey, I live in New Jersey, they legalized it. When they legalized it, people I never thought in a million years that would smoke cannabis or take cannabis, or that they do it. And so there's a lot of people out there that partake in this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of people's information that was stolen as a result of this. And this is a highly regulated industry that needs to do security the right way, but they should want to protect their customers' information as part of their kind of like their business. They should be promoting the fact that we take security seriously, and if you do business with us, we're going to maintain the privacy that you do business with us. I don't see this as any different as private or protected health information. Some may call it self-medication, but at the end of the day, they're using this for medicinal purposes, and it kind of used to be called a drug. I don't know if it still is. And you're buying a drug from a company that's not doing a good job of protecting your data. So if they were selling, I don't know, penicillin or oxycodone, I'm sure they would have to go through some kind of HIPAA audit, or they will be held to HIPAA standards. What standards is this industry being held to? Hopefully the same as the medical and healthcare field is, because that's what I would expect. But what do you expect when you go purchase stuff from these types of companies and other companies, doctors, hospitals? What do you expect them to do with your data and how to protect it? Let's hear from you in the comments, because it's your data that's being exposed. Are you tired of it? Love to hear from you down below. And to wrap up the video, I appreciate you joining me this week. Saw this article on Cybersecurity Dive. Cyber attacks, tech disruptions rank as top threats to business growth. And boy, could that not be more true. If you think your business is humming and going and we're going to the moon, baby, I can tell you right now that if you experience a cyber attack or a data breach, your dreams as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, are going to get shattered by cyber criminals. These events are business ending. They're destructive. They're really hard for companies to get out of. It's going to be the companies that decide to invest in this stuff, it's going to be a competitive advantage for them in like a very short period of time. Because I believe that the pendulum is going to swing so fast the other day with people so sick and tired with hearing and dealing with these data breaches that impact them personally, that it's going to impact people's buying decisions, who they do business with. If anybody thinks any school district is going to continue to do business with PowerSchools at the same level that they're doing it today, you're sorely mistaken. They will lose market share. Other competitors will come in and show companies how they do security better, and these school districts will eventually move, when they can, away from this product. I tell you, before these events happen, companies, oh, that'll never happen. They'll never leave us, even through a cyber attack. I see it all the time. Leading software vendors have a whole entire industry leave and go to a competitor, and they're no longer the leading application for that industry anymore within a very short period of time. And then they shrink, and they usually get bought up by somebody else because they can't survive on their own anymore. So only 2 in 5 executives view data breaches and leaks as the most financially burdensome man-made threat. I mean, 2 in 5, I don't like those numbers. Goes to kind of show you, where the market's at. But essentially, this article says cyber attacks and technology disruptions ranked as the top threat to business growth in a recent Harris poll commissioned by global insurer Chubb. Cyber breaches and data leaks were cited by 40% of executives as growth disruptors, far outpacing other categories, including accidents, regulation, social unrest, and hazmat exposures, according to report on findings. Risks that are reported on regularly today, especially those related to cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, climate change, and reputational damage as a result of viral social media events, were either previously non-existent or have intensified greatly over the last 10 years, the report said. So essentially, they're seeing this stuff more in the news. They're seeing it more on social media, meaning they're seeing other companies post that they had to deal with an event, or a partner of theirs had to deal with a cyber event, data breach, ransomware. And they're starting to see that this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Well, yeah. What do you think is going to happen when you ignore something that you don't think is a problem? You're now starting to come around to that realization only because you're seeing the repercussions of businesses' downfall as a result when they get hit for not doing the right thing. You're not listening to experts like me who monitor these groups, watch what they're doing, watch how they improve their processes, watch how they up their skills, watch how they learn to beat your defenses, and you still choose to do nothing as a business leader around these things until something bad happens, or something bad happens to a partner of yours, a competitor, or somebody close to you in your industry. That's when we usually see organizations maybe take action. You know, believe it or not, we've seen companies get hit with ransomware and still not take action. It's crazy. So at the end of the day, businesses, you're starting to come around a little bit, it seems. But we still have a long way to go, and business leaders really need to embrace the fact that this is a real threat in their business. And, you know, I put this stuff out there because I want to help you. I want you to understand that these risks are real, they do exist, and you probably have a better chance of getting hit with a cyber attack today than you do at basically going into a casino and winning on black on roulette. I mean, it's really, more businesses are going to get hit this year in 2025 than we've ever seen before. And I don't know if it's going to slow down in 2026 either. I'm betting that it's not. This is getting ugly, and unfortunately, organizations need to do a better job. And we want to help you. There's plenty of resources down below in the description where you can get help if you really want to take this stuff seriously. I want to see your business succeed, and I don't want to see some cyber criminal come along and ruin things for you and ruin your hopes and your dreams. So please get help with this. Please maintain your business. Links in the description. I'm Bryan with Xact Cybersecurity and IT. Thanks for joining me in the video this week. If you have any questions, please reach out. We'll see you next week. Take care.